So our next speaker today is Magdalena Gomez from Elektra Lighting on how dark is too dark when living in a world of overly lit areas.
Okay. Click. Excellent. Hi everyone, thank you for coming today. What I wanted to share with you today is more like some of the questions that I'm normally asking when I have a project. Uh, and this comes from all my travels that I have to do through work or holidays. Cities like these, they're very easily recognizable, like New York. So you can see it from outer space. It's incredible the amount of light there is in the world, and it seems it's like a competition that everybody is trying to outdo the neighbor. And this is one of the things that kind of scare me when we are lighting designers and we have to work in places like these. How do we respond to that? So I'm really afraid, and we're trying to make a conscious for other lighting designers to design for the appropriate space and how we educate our clients. So we had a clean slate when when Dubai was being designed, and we kind of failed. So when you look at these photographs, just taking randomly from the internet, you can see how much is the light pollution. And everybody's trying to do the rest. How high is the building, how bright it is. It seems that there is not 1 square meter in Dubai that is not lit or overly lit. Are we getting blinder, and that's why we need more lights? So these are kind of one of the questions, why we're doing this to ourselves, because it doesn't make a space look prettier. It doesn't make you enjoy the space. And I'm thinking a little back, where is this coming, this fear? Is it because we have it ingrained, like from films, especially film noir, that is showing you that a dark space is dangerous for you? But probably we can change things around if we just question ourselves, well, probably this is not a place that you should be afraid of, but probably could be a space that it could be romanticized, because you can look at it like, oh, a nostalgia of the old times. So on both the left and the right, the photographs are taken from films, but in the center, it's just a regular street. And for me, it doesn't make it dangerous, but people think because it's darker than the rest, it might be dangerous to walk around it. And we have to think really through what we're doing in all the spaces. So this is one of the things that I'm more concerned about. Because we come and create our cities, we're displacing the wildlife that naturally lives in here. So it's very random to see a fox running around in London. But actually, we are the invaders, they are not. And our lighting is affecting them. Then we have deers. And it's again, we are overlighting highways that they are not used all the time, but we are damaging an ecosystem, the environment for these creatures. We're blinding them, and because what we're doing with the lighting is causing them to die instead of thrive. So we are responsible of what we're doing in the environment. I have been very lucky to work in projects in the Caribbean, in many projects. And one of the first things that I always ask my clients is like, is there a wildlife in this area, in the property? What is the natural inhabitants of the place? So many of them, they're not even aware. So I always ask them, is this a turtle nesting area? They always look at me like, why are you asking me this? Like, well, because whatever I do with the lighting is going to affect the turtles. And turtles are an animal that they always come back to the place where they were born. So if you build something like pavement on the beach, they will not have a place to nest the next year when they return, and they will die, and we are responsible for what we're doing. So I normally ask my clients all these questions. Do you have insects in your area? I know it sounds like a strange question to us, but coming from Mexico, I'm used that. I'm being very lucky to witness the migration of the monarch butterflies coming from Canada all the way to Mexico when is the time where they reproduce. So we're responsible. If we overlight the spaces, they go around to the brighter areas, and then they die. So it's a responsibility to maintain all these ecosystems. And people will say, oh, maybe a nuisance. But actually, why don't you just take this opportunity to say, hey, this is a resort, and it's unique because it offers the opportunity for people to see wild turtles coming here to nest. And then you can see also when the babies are ready to go back into the wilderness. Or just the spectacle of having butterflies or monkeys or whatever is living in the habitat. So I'm always wondering, is like, what is there? I always ask them, these questions, and I make a research. What is the right lighting for this species? Here in the UK, I think most people are not aware, but we cannot use our standard lighting. Like, we always need something customized for turtle nesting areas because they are specific to sensitive to certain wavelengths. So the cooler they get, the more attracted they are because they think it's the moonlight, and the moonlight is their guidance to go back to the sea, so where they can live and thrive. But instead, if we use cool light for our street lighting and it's very close from the beach, instead of leading them towards the sea, we're leading them to the city where they will die. So it's a responsibility, and we have to be very aware where we're working. So it's not like one recipe works for everywhere. So we have to be very sensitive where we are and transmit that to our clients. So I took that opportunity to make a different project. I will explain to you a little bit later. So also, we're living in a world that we don't appreciate nature and the spectacle that it is. Nature has their own lighting show. Come on, you have the Northern Lights. People pay lots of money just to go to the Northern Hemisphere to be witness of these events. But why you have to travel so far to see the Northern Lights when you have dark skies? If you have a dark sky, then you can watch the stars. And there is no sky that is the same here or in America or in China. The sky changes dramatically. And we don't have any more the opportunity to contemplate it because our skies are so polluted, especially here in the city. I don't know if anybody can tell me when is the last time you watched the sky and look at the stars. So it's been a very long time, but I remember my childhood trips going like to a special place near my hometown just to look at the shooting stars, and that was the show. Then also it's like moonlight. We don't need so much light in real life and every day just to take a walk and feel safe. As long as you have the average levels of moonlight, so it's 1 lux, you're able to walk without tripping. You're able to enjoy the nature without feeling like, oh, something's going to come out from the shadows. Like, no, it's just enough to see everything clear. So why we have to have 50 or 100 lux in a walkway when you can have 1 lux that is sufficient? And this brings me to something like, there is a word that is used in Sweden that is called lagom. And it means it's not too little, it's not too much, it's just enough. And I think that's the most beautiful word I have ever learned. Because we are in this world that we always have to think like, oh, you put more because more is more. It's actually no, but also less is not more. So we have to know the balance of what is just the right amount of what we need. Lighting should be an opportunity to guide people. So where do you know you're going if everything looks the same? So you should use it as your guiding. Like, this is a very good example. Where the ship's sailing to, they know where is the lighthouse because you have that only one bright point as a reference. But if you go to Dubai, you will be lost because everything is the same. You should also use lighting as an opportunity to create the spaces. So it means you need a dark space to create a space, if it makes sense. So you use the necessary light wherever is needed, just the right amount, so you can create a good atmosphere, so people can have an enjoyment. We can also use it to embellish and to tell a story, to say, this is where I want to guide people to. This is what I want you to see and focus on things. So it's always telling people a little bit about that. Necessary. As I said before, lagom is just the necessary amount of lighting for what you need to do. For example, this is a project we did a couple of years ago at the entrance of some apartments, and it was all a wooden block of reclaimed wood, so it was very difficult to see. So where do you put the lighting? If you light the whole entrance, it's very difficult that people will see the mailboxes, but if you put the lighting on the mailboxes, people will find them. So it's just giving whatever is enough, sufficient light that people can go up and down the stairs. And it should be lighting just enough to make people feel safe. So, it's like you have the necessary amount of light, so you don't trip, you don't fall. You see if somebody's coming, because obviously we're afraid if we see a stranger approaching. It's nice to see that there is something happening. And this is one of the projects that I have thought so much And I was very thankful to have the architects, the landscape designers, and interior designers on my corner so we could find brand standards. This was for a resort in the Caribbean. And in the beginning, they wanted to have everything by their standards that was like traditional 50 lux for circulation in an open space, which I think it's a sad thing to do because the island is so dark that you have beautiful spaces, it's so lush of vegetation, you have wildlife everywhere, monkeys, bats, birds, tree frogs, anything. So all these wildlife needs darkness. So we should respect how the area lives already, like all the ecosystems. And thankfully, all the design team were backing us up, and at the end, they were the ones, like the brand was supporting us and saying like, yes, you go guys, you can do this. You don't need to design for 50 lux, but if you give me 5 lux and you think that's sufficient, that's fine. So this is what we're doing. Lighting should be also like a space where we can use it for contemplation. We move in such a fast way these days that we always rush from point A to point C, and we forgot that B was in the middle because we are such in a rush that we don't look around. And we should use lighting just for contemplation as an excuse to find beauty in everyday things. It's always like a reason to explore. Have a nice stroll around. If you have somewhere to go that is beautiful and is peaceful, we should find an excuse to do it. But for that, we need lots of darkness. If we have everything super late, you will never find a place like this. And above all, we should be respectful for the environment we are. This is the result of my thoughts for this project in the Caribbean. As you can see, we had a very dark sky, and the little light you see on the top of the photograph is actually the moonlight. But one of the most beautiful experiences is that you can have in the Caribbean is go to swim in this pool with a natural edge. We don't have much of the pool lights because we have all the rock bottoms, so we put like little fiber optic stars to create the starry effect. But it's beautiful that you go midnight to have a nice swim because it's so hot. You're swimming in between the stars, but when you look up in the sky, you have another blanket of stars above in the sky. And we are responsible of creating these environments. We are responsible of transmitting these messages to our clients, to the developers, and say sometimes much lighting is not better. It's just enough what we need. Thank you very much.